Welcome, everybody, to Den Excelsior, the Mostly Marvel podcast. It is Friday, June 30th. This is episode 192. Let's bring out some people. First, 192, episode 92, minus 100. Let's bring out some people. First up, you know him, you love him. We got Dennis. We're going to chime in.
Oh, I mean, like, you literally asked me what episode it was, and I said 97, and then you come on the show and say 192, and then
Season
92.
1, episode 97.
Season 1. This is episode 97. I told you that twice before we started the show. Twice.
And a favorite reoccurring guest of those 97 episodes. You got Clarke.
Excelsior!
Clarke was there when I told him 97 twice.
Yes, I will vouch for Dennis. And we even made the joke about not 197, 97.
97.
It's okay.
Yes.
It's cool,
97 has a
Ricky.
better ring.
You got a
We'll
lot
get there.
going on now because you are the host.
I don't
now.
know. Maybe he blipped.
I could have, yeah. Maybe I just
Maybe he blipped.
Speaking
No,
of,
you do have more responsibilities. I let you be in charge of the introductions, and then that way I can nitpick when you do them wrong. So it's pretty fun. I appreciate you for doing that, though, too. And I appreciate Clarke for coming back again.
Yeah, we got Clarke.
I think this is twice in 1 month, actually, Clarke.
Yeah.
Are we double dipping on you?
I feel like June was long, though.
Yeah.
Like,
But thankfully, my tickets for Indiana Jones are for tomorrow, so we were lucky.
It's June 30th, so we managed to squeeze one more June episode in on a Friday. So here we are. But yeah, I think you were here last for Spider-Verse.
Across the Spider-Verse.
Across the Spider-Verse. We had Frank for Into the Spider-Verse and then you for Across. Yes. Mm-hmm. That's right. Still the best movie of the month.
Yeah, I just saw Indiana Jones. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna agree, but
I saw a really interesting little video on TikTok that just a lot of analysts are really kind of like dumbfounded by like how so many movies, even like the good ones, not Guardians, but like Spider-Verse and just there's these blockbuster movies that are underperforming as far as like what they were projected to make.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't help but notice that like it's because of the oversaturation, right? Like we have one blockbuster after another
It's the summer season. It's what it's about.
No, but it's never like this.
Well, The Flash is definitely people. I mean, whatever you will about the other shit going on with that movie.
What about Fast X?
Yeah, I mean, for movies of that scope, it is just like an expected inherent return. Like it's almost a safe bet, right? That's why they keep making them. But
they're not making what they were expected to make.
Exactly. So now it's like, I think the real telltale is going to be the Barbie Oppenheimer double day.
I think all of them are the telltale because they're all not doing as well. Like Spider-Verse was projected to make $1 billion, and I don't think it's there right now yet.
Fast X just crossed 700.
Yeah, I'm not saying these movies are failing.
They're not failing, but they're not doing the blockbuster.
Yeah, you expect a certain return when you're spending $1 billion to make a movie.
Yeah,
I mean there is still pre-COVID, and then there's still but Maverick, Top Gun, showed that people will still come to the theaters if they want to.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah. I'm not saying that that if the movie warrants it. I mean, like obviously, Guardians of the Galaxy did really well, right? Like it's the most successful of the 3 Guardians movies. So there are movies that people just know, hey, this is going to be a good experience. But I think if you're not doing something like a membership to a theater, like this summer is expensive, man. Yeah. Like it's really expensive.
I got it. I started back up my Regal Pass.
Yeah. And it's no longer like just the months of June and July. It's not even it's May, June, July, but now even before that it's April. So now you're getting Ant-Man in April and stuff. So you know, the times are, I mean, it is more saturated, but you know, it's a whole big mix, because it's like some people like say, oh, you know, people are tired, but like people have been saying they're tired of, you know, superhero movies for years. Some of them still keep doing well. I mean, it's like people watched westerns back in the 50s and 60s. They had a western movie come out every single week. I mean, imagine if a comic movie came out every week. I mean, it might feel like it, but it really doesn't. But you know, westerns were huge, you know, back then, and you know, now they're much rarer and stuff. I mean, things cycle. So I'm not too worried about it. Just make good movies, make better movies.
Yeah, well, I think that's the real.
Aside from playing film critic, armchair film critics, what else have we been doing this week?
That's it, just armchair film critic. Well, in fairness, though, I was just quoting something that I saw that I found interesting, because, you know.
None of yours wrong, by the way. Like, it is weird or noticeable how poorly these movies are doing.
Yeah, I've been watching The Bear.
Oh, I'm like halfway through it.
Yeah,
I love that show.
It's an excellent show. It's the same producers as of Atlanta, and it feels a lot like Atlanta when I watch it.
I want to make a bear show, but set in a hospitality tourism environment, because like I watched that show and I get it. It like just triggers this weird niche in my brain that led me to work in that industry for as long as I did, and kind of still adjacently, like the drive to do well in those types of spaces, but like the just pure insanity that goes on behind the scenes is it's truly fascinating.
You've been watching that one, Clarke?
I haven't watched season 2 yet, but I watched all season 1. And
they dropped the whole season all at once.
I'm waiting to. I know when I start, I'm gonna like devour it. So. Yeah, because it's an amazing show. But I was going to say, I also really want to try a Boston beef sandwich.
I know, right? I had a New York chopped beef sandwich a few weeks ago. It's super good, man.
Is that different from a chopped cheese?
Or sorry, chopped cheese is what I meant to say. Yes.
Oh, was it Aki's way?
I don't know.
Oh, that's like I guess the TikTok way to get it.
It tasted like a hamburger helper and a Philly cheesesteak crossed with each other. It's pretty good.
That's Aki's way.
Yeah. The other thing I've been nerding out on is the freaking Witcher came back yesterday.
Is it still Cavill?
Man.
Yes, it's his last season.
Okay, so he's done.
I don't know that I can comfortably watch this show after Cavill is gone, because I love him so much more as Geralt than I do as Superman. Like, so much.
You put another guy in the wig, it looks the same, right? Like,
no.
But what worries me is not another guy in the wig. It's the fact that Cavill was the one that was fighting for the actual story. Yeah. And as soon as when he's gone, it's the writers are going to have their way, and they're going to go off in whatever direction they want.
The biggest nerd. He's such a nerd.
He is a huge nerd, and I respect him immensely because of that, because he actually defends the source material. The source material.
Yeah, someone would describe him as an incel.
Yeah, some would. But I mean, regardless, like I watched the first episode of The Witcher, and it was awesome because they got Yennefer, they got Ciri, they got Jaskier, they got them all in the first episode. They just brought them all together, and I'm like, man, I feel like it took us 2 seasons to get these people all together, like in a room all the time, you know. But it's just they're there, and they're just awesome. And he goes around just chopping people's heads off, and the violence is so good. The acting is so good. Like it's just I know, Ricky, you don't like fantasy, but I freaking love that show so much. It's so good. Yeah. What about you, Clarke? Have you checked that one out yet?
No, I haven't seen season 3. As you said, it just started, but I am a big fan of The Witcher and Henry Cavill in that role. And, it's, I'm excited, you know, Liam Hemsworth, who's taken over, you know, there it is. But what I like, you know, I've been hearing more as voices, you know, as this is now finally out and he's done, he's filmed all the stuff, he's done with it, is more words from the set about how it really was him versus the writers, and about following core aspects of the Witcher story, and how they don't want it. And it's kind of like how every time the studios announce some property that's going to be done, and you hear the director who's say, we're going to go in a bold new direction, that always makes everybody cringe.
Yeah.
Because
like Zack Snyder did.
Yeah. You can take that, but it's it's like okay, you'll like this one. It's like when somebody lends you their toys and you go and play with them in your own complete way and mess them up. Kind of like how Rian Johnson did in Star Wars. He went his own direction, and because he got lent the toys, and which is fine because he went. It was still, but it's a shift.
He went in an awesome direction,
but it was a very different direction,
sure.
and against some of the core aspects of the story. Now, he's one of the only people I know who pulled it off. But
I would say it's the reverse. I would say that what he did in that story was continuing off of other things, just in a direction that people didn't anticipate. But what's more jarring is the course correction that happens after him.
Yeah, I don't think it's.
I think what he did was an interesting addition to the universe that continued the story from the previous one, just not in ways people expected. But the J.J. Abrams third part of that is the real thing that messes the whole thing up.
I agree with you on that. And
they fly now.
But in fairness, and this is kind of a tease of what we're going to be talking about later today. As much as I think it's cool that Henry Cavill is really big on, maintaining the lore and the canon and all these things, there is something to be said about branching out and doing something different. And we're going to be talking about Secret Invasion later tonight. And
I see exactly where you're going with
honestly, that show is so vastly different than the comic that it's named after. And I'm fine with it, man, because it's just a completely different beast. Because at this point, we're 40 stories into the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
The MCU has become its own thing, where all of the stories that come now are built off of the previous stories that have slightly branched and deviated until the deviation has become so far that it's just logical.
I mean, there's layers and layers on top of it too.
Exactly. Yeah. And so in that respect, The Witcher has had 3 seasons of world building to really allow it to play and still know what the core values of the show are. We'll see. I'm not defending, I'm not saying right out the gate, hey, maybe the writers are right. I'm just saying maybe it won't be bad when Cavill is gone. I'm fingers crossed.
But I'm going to say, to a bigger point, to a video that you shared earlier today, 20 years ago, we barely would have a fantasy movie or this. I mean, we have such a treasure trove.
Yeah, you guys are all spoiled
of superhero and fantasy shows and stuff that we wouldn't even imagine about 20-30 years ago.
We're picky. We're
Bright
picky
is
now.
the only fantasy movie that I've enjoyed in the past 10 years.
Which one?
He said Blight.
Bright.
Oh, I thought you said Skrull.
God, no.
Really? I
thought you said Skrull. I know you asked everybody, but I do have one more thing I wanted to add to it. I mentioned this last week, and it's just I'm keeping the fun going. When you asked me what I was nerding out on, I have been enjoying all of the Halloween movies. I don't mean the Halloween franchise. I mean all of the movies that came out last Halloween that are now showing up on all the different streaming platforms. And this week I watched Evil Dead Rise. And oh my God, that was so much better than
I've only ever seen the remake. It's a sequel of that movie, right?
It's not a sequel to that. it's just its own thing.
Really? Oh, okay.
It's kind of like another reboot, but what really makes it set apart is they're like, no cabin, no Ash. Let's just do the book in downtown LA.
The
Necronomicon. And it's so like tonally it's very different. Like it's a lot darker, but like the actress who plays the main Deadite in that movie, like I will follow. I want to see if she does more things, because like they make the villain in that movie so awesome that I kind of didn't care who else died in the movie. Like I was just like, can we just keep her for the rest of the movie? Because yeah, it's really messed up story. Like, but basically like it's a single mom and a bunch of kids, and then the aunt comes to visit for the weekend or whatever, and then just randomly there's an earthquake, and the Necronomicon kind of ends up revealed in like from like the debris. So the stupid kid goes and checks it out, and chaos ensues. And first thing right off the bat, mom gets possessed, and it's pretty messed up, because then you watch a family have to deal with crazy demon possessed mom for the whole movie, and it doesn't end well. It doesn't. But Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi produced the movie, and they do find a way to squeeze Bruce Campbell in just a little bit. But it is not your daddy's Evil Dead. I'll just say that right now. Like, I don't know if you'll like it, Clarke, but you have to respect the artistry. It's amazing.
The only Evil Dead that I like is, of course, Army of Darkness, but that was when they went for comedy. And I've seen 2. I did not see the remake because that's just too intense for me.
The remake was pretty gory,
remake still finds a way to have the comedy a little bit, though. Like it still gets a
little funny.
Yeah, it gets a hand replaced with a chainsaw and stuff.
That is horror is not my genre.
Yeah, but I'm saying if it is your genre, check that one out, man. It's pretty cool. Like I enjoyed that one a lot. I don't remember what platform it was on. Did I watch it on Max? I think I watched it on Max. What about you guys? What are you internet on besides those things?
This week, The Bear, Dial of Destiny. I went and made a little trip to go see that. Thought it was fun. I'll say it's better than Crystal Skull. It's not better than the other movies that I barely remember, but I think it's good enough for what it is.
Okay. Well, better than Crystal Skull is my bar. So
first half of Crystal Skull is a great movie. I will go to the grave with that.
The groundhogs are in the first 10 minutes of that movie, though.
Nothing in the first half of that movie until they get to, I think, Guatemala or Peru. Movie's fine.
The groundhogs are in the first 10 minutes of that movie.
Pure cheesy cinema at its best. But I went to a baseball game. I went to an Angels game, not comic related. Fun fact: beer at the Angel game is $4. Water is $6. Don't know how that's legal, but
wow. Wow.
But otherwise, no. Now I Dial Destiny, The Bear, and I'm here.
What about Clarke?
Diablo 4. I'm playing a lot of Diablo.
I've played 30 minutes of that game. It's not for me, and I can't return it.
No, sorry, but with Oliver and Ephraim and Ian and I, we got our mounts this week, and I immediately started singing the Three Amigos song, and it was fun.
Nice.
So that's been a lot of fun, and then just catching up on some shows. Yeah, a lot of new shows just started, so I got to set some time. But yeah, I want to watch The Bear. I want to watch Witcher, and then I can't wait to see season 3 of Superman and Lois, which I hope will.
Now Bizarro he fought.
It was a good season, man.
I know. I've heard.
Bizarro's in the second season, and then he's kind of in the third season a little bit.
Yeah.
Cacophony is the main villain in the third season.
Did you finish The Idol, Dennis?
It's not done yet. It's not done.
They stopped it after 5.
Wait, what?
Yep.
The Idol.
Wait,
Done.
what? They canceled it?
They're saying it's just done at 5, but the industry saying it was canceled at 5.
Well, the 5th episode hasn't aired yet.
Done at 5.
So
what show is this?
So you're saying this week it ends?
This week it'll end. The Idol, the HBO Max Euphoria adjacent show with Lily Rose Depp in The Weeknd.
What? It ended? They're just ending it?
This is the end.
Yeah, it airs on Friday. Sorry, on Sunday. It airs on Sunday. What? I question that.
Too spicy.
It is pretty spicy.
But
I didn't feel like it was ready to end, but
it's kind of a slow week. We'll get into some news, but we're in the little dead zone before Comic-Con for a lot of things, as we are less than a month away of the stuff that's going to be there. What are you guys interested in so far?
Well, to get the Comic-Con experience started, we had the great experience of trying to get Jurassic Park experience tickets, which, of course, disappeared immediately.
Unless you can shit in that toilet, I don't think it's worth it.
And according to sources, what happened was somebody in Universal gave the link out early to a fan group, and then somebody in that fan group posted it. And that's why there were no tickets left.
Wow.
What kind of circles are you in where you find out leaked Comic-Con activation info?
Comic-Con circles.
Wow.
So
that's pretty crazy, man.
But that doesn't. No, that is the rumor, but that doesn't surprise me because that is something that somebody in marketing would do, not realizing how much of an effect that would have on everybody.
But I'll say this though. Aren't the people that did get it, aren't they clearly more deserving because they knew where to find that? Like they like Jurassic Park more than we do, right?
If I'm marketing, I just want that thing full. I don't care who goes.
Yeah.
Truth. Exactly. So
and it does have a standby line. Yeah.
So for all you peasants.
But I am not surprised, but also, of course, disgusted that the main thing you want to do is crap in the toilet.
That's what you want to do. Yeah, I would want to take a poop in that toilet. Kidding me?
It wouldn't be Ricky otherwise.
Leave something for the next guy. Yep.
At the very least, the pants are coming down when I take that photo.
Yeah.
And
then you'd smash it so nobody else could take a picture.
Yes.
Can we just go to the news?
Yes.
We can. All right. First up in this week news is us. Correspondent Dennis had some photos in Marvelous news. Marvelous news photo of the day. He had 2 submissions. Look at these things.
I had 3 submissions. It's okay.
We'll
You don't know your facts. But yes, no, I did. I was featured twice on Marvelous News this week.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. I actually made a series of photos for a zine celebrating the art of pride. That was going to come out this month, or at San Diego Pride actually. And they had so many submissions that they politely declined to use mine. And I was like, well, F it. I mean, I still want my stuff to get out there during June because it's still Pride. So I decided to share them on Instagram, and I shared them at other sources. And I was really happy to see that 2 days in a row, we got some pictures in there. There's a third one. It might come up tomorrow. We'll see.
I have to be honest, when I read the title Off Duty Dora, that wasn't what popped into my head. And when I scrolled down, it totally made sense. But I was just imagining Dora the Explorer kicking back.
That's why I like the name.
With her feet up. Yes.
That
is what popped in my head first. But then as I immediately scrolled down, I'm like, oh, Dora Milaje. Oh, yes. That makes total sense now.
I definitely was playing with your expectations with that title.
You did. You twisted them around and then.
Yeah. But thanks for showing those. I've actually been gearing up. I've been doing a lot more toy photography lately. I actually have an assistant now, and he's working with me twice a week. And we're gearing up to get a full like gallery showing at Comic-Con this year in San Diego. So I've got a lot of stuff. I'm working with a print shop and getting everything made and framed and stuff like that. So I'll be sharing more stuff on Instagram throughout the month or throughout the year. But I've definitely got a nice little backlog of stuff to share with the community.
So stay tuned.
Yeah, I'm glad. Which one do you like better?
Probably the one with the. Is it the Hulkling, right?
Yeah.
Hulkling is different than Amadeus, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Who's Hulkling?
Hulkling is a Skrull.
Oh. Okay.
He's half Skrull, isn't he?
Maybe.
Can he play in the MCU?
Can he play in the MCU? Yeah,
he's a Skrull.
He's a young Avenger.
No, but like legally, right? I thought Hulk or Hulk adjacent characters are not allowed, but if he's a Skrull, then
we have a She-Hulk.
I don't know how the laws work, man.
It has to do with distribution of film. Universal owns the film distribution right to the Hulk.
Makes sense.
So,
yeah.
Well, what about the theatrical Broadway rights to Marvel?
Get that.
Rogers the Musical. Now playing at the Hyperion, the theater inside Disney's California
Adventure. There's been a lot of people on TikTok giving their praise.
It's good, right? I've heard good things about it. Yep,
I've heard that it's campy as it's supposed to, but it actually goes the full Steve and Peggy story arc.
My favorite thing at Six Flags, because they have the DC rights, was always the Batman stunt shows as a kid. I loved them. They were so stupid and cheesy. There were special effects. So
this is probably not that.
If this is anywhere near dumb stunt show,
I heard it's got some good special effects
with some music, I'm in. I'm in.
I would like to see it.
I love that fantasy is where you draw your line. Like that's it's so arbitrary.
Guns. I just need a gun.
Like I'm down to watch if people do musicals and
if there's no guns, then...
but there's no guns in this.
There's a gun. Black Widow has a gun.
No, she doesn't.
Iron Man had guns on his hands.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't have guns. He has projectiles, which is no different than a magic missile. Thank you very much.
Or an arrow.
But
or an arrow. Exactly. Which Hawkeye has too.
It's blue. But his arrows do cool shit.
So how do you know they don't do that?
So does Legolas's.
He does cool shit with arrows.
I think you just prejudge without even knowing.
I 100% do. that's the fact. I will be going to check this out next month. So
I'll check it out next year.
It's only going till
August 31st. Yep.
Oh, well, I probably won't see it.
Well,
it's on TikTok. It's on TikTok.
We also got some new Legends. Surprise enough, new show drops.
I thought we talked about these last week.
Did we talk about these last week?
Yeah, I showed you slides of these last week.
We did.
Yeah, and I'm like, why does the Nick Fury have the eye patch? Bad production design or something, or bad sharing of.
They put an ice on some Legends. They said nothing's till Comic-Con, basically.
They didn't put ice on Legends, but yeah, they announced today that they will not be announcing anything else until Comic-Con, which I'm really happy about because I think last year they made the mistake of trying to compete with the G.I. Joe HasLab, and there was overlapping HasLab campaigns going on, and that's just not cool. What
was this time last year?
This time was the Cobra Hiss, and then
and
then
Galactus and Sky Striker.
No, the Cobra Hiss was last year.
Okay,
the Sky Striker was the year before.
Okay,
but they were doing it wasn't just that. There was like I think the Ghostbusters one also, and like
the backpack. Or
there was so many HasLabs last year going on at the same time. It was just dumb, and it's like, why don't you let them breathe? Because like, you're like, and then the other big mistake is thinking that that they were going to beat the Cobra Hiss at I mean, come on. I mean, I like the Robbie Reyes thing, but like the Cobra Hiss almost got me. It almost got me. I'm just saying. But
I'm still looking at that helicopter. It looks nice.
I'm beginning to remember. Actually, the Robbie Reyes got announced that
was later
at Comic-Con. It was teased at Comic-Con. So it was competing with something else, but not the G.I. Joe one. But this time around, I think the G.I. Joe campaign ends like in a week or two, and so they're giving them space. Like they're spacing them out. So I expect whatever Avengers themed thing that they plan on doing to be there.
Mattel has like a HasLab thing now.
They've had them before.
Oh, I noticed it with the Jurassic Park one.
Yeah, they did a wrestling one last year that Hasbro learned a lot from, actually, because they
in terms
added
of like pricing.
Because they added an early bird special to the Mattel one, and once that happened, it sold like gangbusters. The problem is like,
if you don't make that early bird, that's the risk.
That's the problem.
Robbie. Yeah. They killed Robbie with the early bird.
I think Hasbro just tried to emulate what Mattel did without understanding the value offering of what they were taking away if it didn't make that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the same. It wasn't apples to oranges, and that's why the Mattel one was praised for being so successful and so smart, and the Robbie one was very much not praised for what they did. So
they're not doing any Legends specials at Comic-Con, right? Or any exclusives this year?
Well, they've said that they're not selling exclusives at Comic-Con this year, but last year they did the same thing. They sold them online, like right after the panel.
What was last year? It wasn't the Hellfire Club, right?
No.
That was the year before.
That wasn't that. The MODOK? I don't know.
No, it was the Venom. It was the split Venom, the blue.
You're right.
Blue and red.
It was the animated Venom.
Yeah.
But the bigger convention exclusives last year was Serpentor and Dr. Mindbender from G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Those were way better. Those were super good. And Sergeant Slaughter was technically an Entertainment Earth exclusive. So, but now it's not. Now you can buy it anywhere. But yeah, no, I'm happy. I'm happy that they're taking a chill, like a little chill break. Because like this month, every week they've been announcing a Target exclusive every Thursday, and it's just like, chill out, guys.
I'm sure they got to announce the rest of the Secret Invasion toys, right? There's got to be more than. They haven't officially announced the Zajira, have they?
Oh, sorry, they didn't announce them all. They just got all.
They all got leaked.
They got leaked. Yes, you're right. They'll announce those at Comic-Con. It's fine. They're probably just waiting until the show ends to, like, not spoil things.
Oh, she's a Skrull.
Maybe.
She is. I mean, she is, right? She's the daughter of Talos. I would hope she is.
Are we talking? We're talking about the Amelia Clarke toy. I don't know. Is there an Amelia Clarke toy?
I could have swore that was on the leak thing. Yeah.
No, but she totally is a Skrull.
Yeah.
Yes, that's not a spoiler.
Yeah.
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 Are you ready to talk about some spoilers?
I guess. Okay. If you're. I would like you to get me more hype before you just.
I mean, like, we can like pump it up. Like, y'all ready to talk about Secret Invasion episode 2?
Yeah.
I guess. I guess so. Sure.
The second episode of the show, guys.
No, I think I'm very much excited to talk about this, but I do want to just make sure people know. Spoiler warning, because the episode just came out 2 days ago. We're recording this on June 30th, 2023. And yeah, you might have watched it on Wednesday. You might not have. Come back if you haven't watched it, because it's a fun like show that has surprises and secrets and invasions and stuff like that. So
well, definitely. Episode 2 was definitely a fun one. We get to see Nick Fury deal with his past and his present, and try to figure out what he's gonna do for his future. That's my.
I'm not gonna lie. This was probably one of the most fun things I've watched on Disney Plus in a long time. Whoa, what are you doing with my slides?
Got me confused.
Don't hijack my slides.
This episode, off the bat, I think this show's getting a lot of flack for being slow, boring, kind of a slow burn. But the character moments that we're getting in this show, it's doing so much heavy lifting. And I think you're letting this is the first show in a long time where I think the star power is actually really, you see the overall benefit for getting a Nick Fury or a Sam Jackson, Olivia Colman, and what they can actually do to the right story and the right scene.
Why is slow burn such a bad thing, man?
I don't think it is. It's a TV show, not a movie.
Andor was one of the best Star Wars shows ever.
That show was burn. There was fights about dinner plans in that show that were riveting.
Yeah. What do you think, Clarke?
Well, I totally agree with you that this is a slow burn, and I like that. That this is always, from the first episode, I called this, Nick Fury Winter Soldier, because it's taking that lower key espionage versus Civil War, which is bringing everybody in and stuff. The original Secret Invasion, which for fun I kind of went back and reread it because this is a fast read. Is this giant summer, have everybody and their mother,
like a seasonal event,
huge battles across the planet and stuff. So some people who were expecting that, which would make no sense for a Disney Plus series, but they took this concept of the Skrulls and the Skrulls taking their time and infiltrating the planet, and having Nick Fury be there. And there's some I don't know when to get into it, but there's some things that I felt were a little weak about this episode, especially in the motivation of I forgot his name, the young Skrull who's in charge, Bartek.
Gravik.
So when they announced about why he's mad at Nick Fury, that Nick Fury made a promise and he didn't keep it, so Gravik is going to punish Nick Fury and take over the planet. And because everybody's mad at Nick Fury because he blipped and was gone.
Well, it's not
it's more nuanced than that, though.
So yeah, just to be fair, like Nick Fury made that promise 30 years ago. He was only gone for 6, and a lot of people blipped. I think they're more willing to forgive him for the blip, but not the other 24 years.
Or even after he was just on Saber.
Yeah.
Also, I'm just saying, if you want to kind of poke holes, that planet Thanos was on, just chilling in Endgame, that would have been a pretty good home. I'm just saying.
Well, it was ruined. Like Thanos said, it was ruined by his people because of the population. The
one where he got the fruit.
The garden.
The garden.
The end of Infinity War.
Yeah, you got a point.
Yeah.
You got a point. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to argue that point at all.
But
I think plot holes aside, their frustrations are 100% justified.
I think there's going to be plot holes in every story that comes after Endgame. That's just going to happen. Like Ricky found the easiest one right there. Why don't they just move to that planet?
But to hey, 30 years later you didn't find us a planet, and then you're also using us throughout those 30 years to do your crazy espionage bidding, right? That's kind of fucked up.
I think that's kind of more the thing, right?
I think if that comes out more, I agree with you. And I see the underpinnings of that. I just said, I got a little, that happened. That got a little tired, and like maybe this is because I also just recently saw the reboot of Star Trek, and that was another case where I always felt another case of, oh, you didn't fill your promise. Now I'm going to just kill everybody.
Yeah, in fairness though, that stuff really does happen politically in our world. Like it's just we just don't get to see it. It's usually propaganda paints it differently for us. But I mean, broken promises are what start wars, man. Like that's
fulfilling promises is what start wars.
True.
That's how World War I started.
Yeah. So,
but now this was interesting. That I found it very interesting that they already showed most of the world leaders were Skrulls.
Yeah, they kind of dropped the bombshell saying like they have Fury and Talos have a moment on the train where it's revealed and like, hey, how many of you guys are here?
1 million.
Yeah,
that is dangerous. I did not expect that number.
It's a big number.
That is a huge number.
And that the President of the United States, the Prime Minister of England, the Prime Minister of India.
The President's not there.
I thought that's the President.
No, that guy's a Fox News guy.
He's the Fox Shooter McGavin?
Yeah,
he's the Fox
Shooter.
Yeah.
I thought Shooter was the President.
No, he's like Dermot Mulroney. Dermot McDermott is the President. They showed him in the first episode.
Tucker Carlson of the MCU.
Yeah,
all right, that makes more sense then.
Yeah, but the Prime Minister of
head of NATO.
Yeah, she is. And then like you've got a lot of different people. Yeah, the head of NATO. But it's like, I mean, you read the comic, right? This is pretty incredibly different from the comic, right?
Yes.
Because they're just immediately showing you, hey, here's Skrulls. Like it's like the opposite of the comic, and I kind of love it for that, right? Because I keep wondering, okay, if you're playing this hand, I know you have twists. And they keep giving me twists that I didn't expect. And so I was pretty surprised with that twist ending. I don't know. Were you guys surprised?
Oh, the twist ending.
Yeah, that one. There's only one twist ending in
Yeah.
Honestly, it didn't surprise me.
So we're talking about
it wasn't something I was expecting.
Nick has a wife and she is a Skrull.
Yeah.
I
mean, that was new. That wasn't something I was expecting, but it didn't surprise me.
He knows, right? I mean, we don't know if he knows, but we have to assume he knows.
Oh, I'm sure.
No, he knows. He knows she's a Skrull. Like he clearly fell in love with her on that space station. You know what I mean? I think that's what they were implying. My wife was saying this was not surprising to her because she felt like they had kind of been implying for a while now that like he found something on that space station that kept him there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this, I think, is her. This is what it was.
How'd she get back here?
The same way he did.
No, you only see him get off the thing, though.
Yeah, because that's what the scene wanted us to see. You know what I mean? Like, it's not.
I mean, it could be the inverse. He could have not been there. And
maybe. Who knows? But I was pretty shocked. I was pretty shocked to see that these are the ways that they're. I think what I was shocked about is the ways that they're choosing to diverge from the source material are ways that are meaningful and impactful to Nick Fury himself. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so especially this Nick Fury.
Yeah. So what's making the story so interesting for me is like what Clarke said. Like this show really is the continuation of the Nick Fury that we got in Captain America Winter Soldier, which was like, that was the first time we really got to see him as a person and see what his goals were, his ambitions and stuff, right? He's just a smart ass, like who thinks he knows everything in the first time.
Yeah, he's just like, right? Mr. Quip.
Yeah, he shows up and he's like, Iron Man, you got to get in line. You're going to want to do this thing. You're going to want to be one of my guys. you know, like, and then he's like saving the world from like an almost nuclear attack. Like he's just like on top of the world in the first few appearances we see. But it's in Winter Soldier when you see that he goes and he has to answer to Alexander Pierce, and that doesn't go well. And next thing you know, he finds out that he's been inadvertently working for Hydra this whole time. And, then we get a whole little story with him before he supposedly gets killed. And, and it was really intriguing and interesting. I was like, give me more of that. And instead he just dips out and like, he's just like not present for most of the rest of the MCU after that movie. Right. Like he drops in really quick to give him like a motivating speech in Age of Ultron. And then like he shows up for the funeral, like for Tony Stark, but that's like it, right? Like he doesn't really
pretty much.
Yeah. Like the only other time we see him is in Captain Marvel, which is like a giant flashback to the 1990s. Right. And so, yeah, I didn't know, like I said that last week, I didn't know that I wanted this so bad, but I'm down. I wish I'm it's cool that they call it, Secret Invasion, because it makes it more of a special. It's they're not going to be like multiple seasons of Secret Invasion, right? It's going to be like a limited time event, but like it could have been Nick Fury, and then I could have been excited to just have. Could we have more seasons of Nick Fury? And we still could, but like.
Well, I remember when the show was like early on, like the rumor was this was going to be a Nick Fury Shield show. And right, what is that? What is a Shield show in a post Winter Soldier world? Right. And I think this is the best answer, right? It's not. It's Nick Fury dealing with the problem that has been put on ice for 30 years in that universe.
I mean, this show could be how he rebuilds Shield. You know what I mean? Like it could be a justification for needing
in the
something.
Comics. Is Saber its own thing, right, from Shield?
There's no Saber in the comics.
It's
Sword.
Called Sword. It's Sword. Yeah, there you go. But Sword's its own separate thing.
And then after that, it's Hammer.
It is. He's not wrong.
But Sword's basically space defense, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Sword's space defense, and I think it's funny that you brought that up because the person in charge of that is this lady with green hair named Abigail Brand, and that is actually who Emilia Clarke had been rumored to be playing for several months now. So I was pretty impressed that they kept that under wraps. And then like in the first episode, you're like, hey, she didn't have green hair. Wait, she's not even trying to be Abigail. What the hell's going on here? And like I liked the twist that they made her the little girl that made friends with Monica Rambeau in Captain Marvel. And it's like, okay, cool. I mean, if we're gonna get Monica, like why not get the grown-up version of this girl too? So I like that. But I feel like all of these characters, the reason they're interesting is because of how they relate to Nick Fury, right? Like I think there's no question that like, you take away Coulson, you take away Natasha, and you take away Maria Hill. We know just from the context that we've been provided over the last few years, Talos is the next most trusted person in his life, right? Of course, we just learned that there is another one that we didn't know of, but she basically, they met through Talos, right? Like basically Talos kind of hooked Nick Fury up with a wife, and so it makes you understand why he has a closer bond with Talos now too, right? Because he has a very special place in his heart for these Skrull people, and he really does care about them.
Well,
and
you get some emotional scenes with him where he's not playing the cool guy. He shows,
but he still is though.
He still is in his own way. But they do cut to post bombing, right, for a little bit, and he is shooken up by losing.
Yeah, but then there's that whole scene with him and Rhodey.
Oh,
where talking about.
I was saving that for the end, but
you mean one of the greatest scenes ever in the MCU?
Yeah,
that scene is amazing.
God, I was watching this and I was like, this is some serious acting, and there are layers to this conversation that they're having right now.
It's a phenomenally written scene, and
Yeah.
it's acted by some of the best actors that we have on this planet, let alone in the MCU. You have this legacy of these two characters. I mean, these are literally, they have been there since the beginning, depending on how you put Rhodey, played by Don Cheadle. And it's the first, it is like, not misquoting, but it's the first two black characters in the MCU, right? Back to back.
Yeah.
We've never had a scene together with any of them.
With Rhodey being the first. Yeah.
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 And
but you know that they know each other, and you know that they're aware of each other. I just really like the nuance of this scene, in that, like, Nick Fury's telling Rhodey about, like, hey man, we have a real problem right now, which is we don't know who we can trust. So you and we need to trust each other, and Rhodey's pushing back and saying, like, look, I know what you're trying to say here, but, like, if I'm truly going to be a person of color in a position of power, I need to acknowledge that you have overstepped way too far. And the best thing I can do is say no to you. Like, you're a bad seed right now. And like, I think that's the cool part. Like, I hope that Nick Fury comes around, to being like the clean, well, he's never clean. Nick Fury is never a clean character. He's always got some dirt in fingers, but
they touch on that part too, where he's like, oh, you're political now. He's like, I'm the colonel or whatever he is. Like, I am political. Like, that is my job.
Yeah, he's Secretary of Defense.
Secretary of Defense. Like, he can't, anything he does or says is a statement on behalf of the nation. So yes. And it's, oh my God, that scene's just so well done. And you could tell that none of them are happy to have that conversation. That's not a fun conversation for either of them. And it's almost like they're remorseful for saying the things that they're saying, but at the same time, they need to be said.
The other thing I really liked about that scene, though, is that, it ends with Rhodey firing Nick Fury, right? And then he's got this bodyguard that's going to, like, escort him out. And Nick Fury, basically, like, almost breaks that guy's arm, right? He does Nick Fury things. He does spy moves, breaks this guy's arm, gets in Rhodey's face and says, I'm Nick Fury. Even when I'm out, I'm in, and then he bounces out, and he bounces out looking cool. But cut to right outside, he's winded. He's winded, and like, it took a lot. He was putting on a face. And I think it's really cool that this show is showing us more of the vulnerabilities of Nick Fury, right? Because, like, he really, that's his greatest strength, right? He puts on a face of confidence in every room he's in, always. He's commanding the stage, but, like, he is a straight up human, man. He has no superpower other than what I just said, like, and that's awesome. It's awesome that, like, we're getting to see the cracks in the armor, he's old, man. He's not young anymore. Like, and so I think it's cool that the character is embracing the oldness of the actor, and it's a really cool thing. I just didn't know that I was gonna, like, how salty I was about Maria Hill, and by the way, still am salty.
But I mean, the tone and the language in the bar scene with Maria Hill, and then this conversation with him and Rhodey, it's just like a different.
Well, because they don't believe in Nick right now.
Well, they don't believe in Nick, but just the tone and the dialogues there. It's just it's almost like it's a different. I don't say a different genre, but you kind of get what I'm saying. Like, it's a flavor of the MCU. It's like a very real flavor of the MCU that we have not gotten up until this point.
I feel like it's the most adult MCU show we've ever gotten. I think Moon Knight's close, but
well, and there was Captain America's speech at the end of Captain America, and Winter Soldier.
And that was Falcon Winter Soldier. Yeah.
Falcon. I'm giving him the current title.
But he still got to dress up in the suit. And
I mean, and he was Captain America at that point. When he gave that speech, he was Captain America.
Oh no, I know. I'm just saying, like,
but again, how Marvel actually deals with race, which it doesn't really do too much in its movies, but does in the Disney Plus shows. Is that?
No, I mean, you're right. It's like it's the underlying thing, right? And I think this show is perfect for getting into those nuances when like in the train scene again with Talos, they're like, well, why can't we just want to live here with you guys? And like, we hate each other. Like, there's no way we're gonna accept people. Like,
that was a great line. We can't even get along with
100% true. Like,
there's no way we're gonna get along with you.
And he takes it back to he starts the story out with telling Talos how he used to ride in the colored car and tell me something I don't know game, and like that's some real shit right there.
He told that guy like a real story about his childhood too, which like that I also thought was really fun because we just don't get to. We're learning like infinitely more about Nick Fury as a human being than we ever did.
Well, especially since this is a Nick Fury that actually only existed since Ultimate Nick Fury, because the Nick Fury, the comics is really a white guy and has decades and decades and decades of history. Yeah. But that's a totally different character. So this Nick Fury, it's great to be able to get that background,
to know that he grew up in Alabama.
That's not in any of the comics because he really wasn't in the comics.
This is why I was making that argument for The Witcher finally deviating, by the way, is because like I'm having a blast learning about a different Nick Fury than the one I know in the comics. You know what I mean? Like this is it's just so fun to be along for the ride. And like, I can't think of like somebody better to carry this than Samuel Jackson. Like we love this actor, right? Like he's always been great. And he's like, we always just like make fun of him for like, this guy will take any paycheck, period. But like he is executive producing this show.
Yeah.
And he's coming to do some serious work here on this show. And I think it's really cool that people want to do these kinds of stories in the MCU. Like I just like that we can have a She-Hulk and a Nick Fury exist in the same universe.
Yeah.
And they both are very different flavors of shows, but I'm here for it. I'm here. Yep. I'm more here for the special, unique flavors than I am the generic ones.
And we have said that time and time again. That's why we like these Disney Plus shows, because they get in the nuances that the movies just don't have time for.
Yeah.
And that's why I am just. It's what we loved about the Netflix shows, especially Daredevil, because it got to go into those nuances. But now these Disney Plus shows, so many of them, they go into parts that movies can't. That they
honestly they're joking about carpet bombing European countries, Slovakia in this country. Like, holy shit!
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, like that we've gotten what in Falcon and Winter Soldier, you mentioned Don Cheadle got an Emmy nomination, and I think he won for that one, didn't he? Or like.
I think you might be right for his like 30 or like a minute scene,
for like his 1 minute in that show.
That's a great scene though. It's a
great scene, but like it felt weird and out of place, like in the not out of place, but like it felt like a cameo that was meaningful, but just like it made me believe that like War Machine was like a Chekhov's gun. And I was waiting for War Machine to show up at the end of the show, and it's like, oh no, he's not showing. Okay, cool. And then so this time when he shows up in this show, and I'm like, okay, how are we going to use him? And I feel like we're going to keep him in the whole series. He's going to keep popping in and out. And,
he wasn't marked as a special guest, so
only Maria Hill's marked as a special guest. Like, but I think the weird thing about it is the more and more I see what they're doing with Rhodey, the more I'm upset at the decision to change Armor Wars from a series to a movie. Yeah, because I think I would have rather had.
You're gonna get him. He's gonna be in Ironheart in some capacity.
I think I really dig that he's like putting on the big boy pants and becoming the new Iron Man, right? Like, that's what he is. Like, he's gonna be.
At this point, everything's pushed back so far. I have no idea what Iron Wars is going to actually be, or if it's going to actually happen.
But I really do like Secretary of Defense Rhodey, because it is this very, as he was for the Accords, right? He was
Wait, is he Secretary of Defense? I think he is, right? Because
I could have sworn he was a colonel or something.
Maybe, but Ross is Secretary of State, right?
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
This, it's really for me. I see it like it's kind of the natural next step for that character, right? Yeah, he's a soldier, superhero, war machine, but he's older. Not saying he can't do those same things in the suit, but if I was a high-ranking military official, that would be the natural progression of my career, and to see it kind of unfold in the universe before us is kind of a neat thing.
Yeah, I'll say this not to contradict you, but what I think is really a testament of the MCU now is they can make you believe that the choices that they make for these characters are natural progressions, because what they're doing is taking advantage of the fact that their actors are very real human beings that are aging, and so they inherently cannot be like locked in a time capsule the way they are in the comics, right? They have to keep growing past what the characters do in the comics, and I think this is really cool, like that you can see this as a logical progression. I could probably see a million different progressions for this character that some may be closer to the comics, some may be further, but I'm not saying this is the only thing he could have done, but I am agreeing that it's really cool that we can see the logic behind where these characters go, and I think that's really fun.
Can we talk about the what were you saying?
Oh, I think I was going to bring up the thing you were going to bring up, but
hey, can we talk about the thing?
The torture?
No.
This was awesome, man. So this is the other reason I was saying that this is like the most adult thing I've seen from in the MCU. Sonya just cut a dude's finger off. Like, she just cut it off. Like, she just showed up and cut a dude's finger off. And I was not expecting that. Like, I know it's green finger, so like I guess they can get away with it for violence.
Purple blood. Yeah.
But they
were torturing a dude.
They were torturing a dude. I mean, in fairness, that was the point of that dude, was to get tortured, right? Like, to take the fall, because he's trying to set up the American government to be, going against Russia and stuff like that. So he knew what he was in for, kind of, but like, he didn't know he was going to get injected with something that would boil his blood. Man, I didn't love this character in the first episode. I wasn't quite there. It was like Sonya Farnsworth, I think is her name, right?
Yeah, she's head of MI6.
Head of MI6. I was like, okay, you seem kind of interesting. I'd like to get to know more about you. But when she showed up to do the interrogation, man, Sonya Falsworth, I was here for this woman. I was here for all of it.
Well, it continues the world building, right? Like, she obviously knows about Skrulls before the show. Fury did. Rhodey was revealed. Yeah, he knows what's up with the Skrulls.
Yeah,
and you can only assume that
presidents of the United States know about the aliens on our planet.
Like they've probably been at some. They've been crossing paths for decades now. So the fact that we're kind of at a point where the higher level people are able to suss them out and then torture them like effectively, that's crazy. Like we're in like this weird cat and mouse Skrull, who's a Skrull, who's not a Skrull game in MCU.
It's not just the brutality, it's having specific designed ways of affecting Skrulls. She had the tools. She knew exactly the test. She knew the tools.
I love her.
Boom. Yeah. And then she left when she knew she didn't stick around. She's like, okay, it's time for me to get out of here.
Yeah, she like was ready. She's like, hey,
smart.
by the way, where's the escape hatch? Just a hunch, like, and you just see her crawling out away, just like doing spycraft stuff. Like it's, yeah, this show is doing some serious world building, and I'm loving it. I am getting Andor vibes from the show. I will say that, like, just a little
You just
here,
have to
there.
show that Andor is. It's still a great show.
Yeah, it's for sure. But I'm not ruling it out. Like, if it is a slow burn, it could get like, you know what I said? I said last week that after the Maria Hill thing, I'm not to a point where I'm like excited every Wednesday to tune in. And I'm gonna be honest, I almost forgot to watch this show on Wednesday night, or on Wednesday at any time. Like because I was gonna save it for when my wife got home, and then we just ended up watching The Bear. And then it wasn't until like 10:30 I'm like, oh, we didn't watch Secret Invasion, and so we watched like half of it, and I was like, hey, it's pretty good. Whoa, she cut a finger off. And then like we got tired, so we went to sleep, tuned in the morning, finished the rest, and we're like, he's got a wife, what the hell, and so I'm like, okay, now I'm there next week. I will immediately watch Secret Invasion to see what's going on. I'm hooked. And so, yeah, slow burn for sure, because it took me 2 episodes to be hooked. But there was another moment in the show that I know I kind of prepped you guys for, that I wanted to talk about. And it goes back to a question that Ricky had for me last week. And I apologize for this, because I think you asked me last week, you said, do you think there's going to be Super Skrulls? And I was like, I don't know. It's kind of weird to do it before the Fantastic Four, because like, yep, that's kind of the thing. But going back to everything I've said today, why the hell not? Because like at this point, the universe is so freaking different than everything that has come before it, that I don't know that the Super Skrull has to be inherently tied to the lore of Fantastic Four. And so what we saw is it looks like Soren, or is that no Gaia? Talos's daughter seems to be playing both sides, right? She seems to be like staying in Gravik's good graces so she can learn more about what's going on. So she follows Pagan to the room where he's having a conversation with this doctor. And once they leave the room, she goes and turns on the really super old computer. Like, what the hell was this computer? Is this what Russian computers look like, guys?
Yeah.
It's just they made Tetris on.
It's all green, and you see, because like in the meeting with Gravik and the world leaders, they say, what if Nick Fury brings his friends, and they're referring to the Avengers, and he's like, you don't think I have a plan for that? Or maybe he says, I have a plan for that. And when he said that, I immediately thought, okay, dude's gonna work on Super Skrulls, because that's the only solution you have for Avengers, right? Like it like, at least from the comic book point of view, right? Like, I mean, you could always just nuke them and then be done with it, but like,
well, they show they're working on a machine too.
So they show they're working on a machine, and they show you the screen, and I thought it was really cool, and I wanted to kind of just like give you a zoomed in focus on what Gaia saw on the screen. And she saw like 4 samples of deoxyribonucleic acid, aka DNA, that they have collected. And they mentioned like when Pagan and Dr. Dalton are talking, they mention the harvest is not going as well, right? Like that, like Gravik has told him numerous places to go for the harvests, and he's not been successful at getting things. But these are the list of the things that they possibly already have DNA from. And the first is Groot. The second is Frost Beast. The third is...
Now, where did they get Groot on Earth?
I'm gonna show you right now. Okay. Colobsidian is the fourth one, and then Extremis. And so I had fun going back and looking at all of these, because I immediately knew where all of these came from. One, let's be honest. Every time Groot grows anything, he leaves it behind. He leaves a lot of stuff behind. Groot leaves his stuff himself everywhere. So if he ever grows like an arm super long to like grab a bunch of people and throw them across the room, he immediately drops that arm and goes back to a normal size arm. You know what I mean? Like, so there are 2 occasions where Groot did giant fights. One is the first time he landed in Wakanda, and then the second time is 6 years later in Endgame at the Avengers compound, right? So there's Groot all over the place. That's just. Are you okay with that answer? Are you?
Yes.
You convinced? Okay, cool. Second up, if you don't remember the funny, stupid scene at the very end of Thor: The Dark World, there's your Frost Beast right there. They got teleported in when they had the weird scene earlier in the movie. It was like a big ripoff of that Matrix Animatrix story, you know, like, and this monster somehow ended up in London, and at the end of the movie he's just running around London chasing after the pigeons. So there you go. There's the Frost Beast from Jotunheim just running around in London. Third up, we all know Cole Obsidian. This is right after he was battling Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Wong in Avengers Infinity War. There's a big old hand that they just left in Central Park.
And he got squashed in Endgame.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of dead aliens in Endgame. I'm surprised they don't have like all those aliens.
Well, no one wants a Chitauri.
Not the Chitauri, the crazy ones with the 6 arms.
The Outriders,
the Outriders, and then literally all 4 of the Thanos's children of Thanos like die again in Endgame, right?
Yep.
Like, and a billion other crazy monsters too. And then if you're curious, Extremis, I mean, there's bits of Extremis all over that place where they kidnapped the president of the United States at the time, President Ellis. But Pepper specifically blew up Killian with a giant warhead at the very end of the movie. So this guy's bits are everywhere. There's several other Extremis people, but it's possible they just have the Extremis compound or whatever it is. So I thought that was fun to go back and trace, like, because like I always get mad when bad guys get killed in superhero movies. So I really kind of enjoyed tracing the steps of like, well, what pieces are salvageable, you know, from these things. And there was one more, and this is the reason that I got so excited when I saw this computer screen, because there is one specific point in the entire MCU that I have been stuck on for many, many years, and I've been waiting. And if this show goes there, I wonder.
Yes, it's exactly what I was about to say. Thor's blood, because you always talk about that. I was literally about to say that.
I need this. I need this. I want Chris Hemsworth to be a Skrull at some point in this episode, in this show, because I'm not saying Thor has to be a Skrull. I'm saying I want a Skrull,
like Thor. A quick change.
I want a Skrull Thor to show up, because we never got Ragnarok, the
android,
the cyber, the android clone of Thor, and I thought it was really special and interesting that Joss Whedon made it a point of showing you this moment in the movie where he pulls the dagger that Loki stabbed him with out of his side and throws it onto Tony's balcony and leaves it there, and the camera follows the dagger. And that's a weird thing. Like, it didn't need to be shown, but all of us fans of Civil War have been waiting this whole time. And so now I'm like, okay, can I just have him as a Skrull instead? Because I'm pretty sure there's a Super Skrull that has Thor powers in Secret Invasion. Am I wrong?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
And he wears a similar armor to actually that.
Yeah, he does, right? So what do you think?
I think that one you might have, like, does he just show up or do you have to explain it? Is that too niche of an Easter egg that you can't comment?
I don't think you even have to explain it, but I think the fans would know why.
I think it'd be awesome.
I don't think it has to be explained, and then fans will go and dig and be like, here's why. You know what I mean? Because like in all honesty, a Skrull can copy anybody, period.
Yeah.
They can copy anybody, but like they can't copy their powers unless they have, more information, more genetic information than just looking at them. So I would love to see a fake Skrull Thor just show up. I think that would be like the icing on the cake for me in the show. Just because, like, why do we have this scene in this movie? Like, it just kills me every time.
It's
like suddenly I'm not mad at the stupid scene where the frost beast is running around, chasing pigeons. Like, not that I was mad at it before. I just don't like Thor: The Dark World. I just don't think it's a great movie. And it just like it was a weird post-credit scene to have. Like,
well, on the Super Skrull note, during the Skrull secret meeting, they elect Gravik as the Skrull general.
Yes.
Are those two the same thing?
No.
Okay. What significance does the Skrull general now have? Or
that's like asking me if Captain America is president of the United States.
All right. It's a fair question.
But do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, no, Captain America's our superhero. President's a different thing. So the Super Skrulls are just the superheroes of the Skrull army. That's what they are. Like, and originally there's just the one. Like, right? Because like back in the original comics, like the Skrulls were like little and like they were like evil goblins almost. Like I mean, they were aliens, but they just look silly, and like Jack Kirby just drew them to be very like short and like nefarious and gremlin-y and stuff, and they were just always getting into mischief with the Fantastic Four, and it wasn't until like they just got their butts handed to them enough times dealing with them that they're like, we got to figure something out. And so they went and they built a guy that had the combined powers of all four of them. And that was the Super Skrull for like, what, like 40 years or something like that? 30 years? I don't know. 30, 40 years. There was just the one. He's just the one guy. And so it wasn't actually until Secret Invasion that they made more Super Skrulls that they like. So Super Skrull actually has a name, like it's Clarke, K apostrophe LRT, right? That's like he's a character in the comics. That just goes by Super Skrull the same way Steve Rogers goes by Captain America. But like later on, in similar ways to like Captain America, they wanted to recreate that experiment, and so they started harvesting the DNA of lots of other superheroes like Avengers and X-Men, and there's like all of them, right? Clarke, like they got mashups of like Cyclops visors and like or do they have like an X-Men Super Skrull and like an Avengers Super Skrull?
No, it's more that they have like specific Skrulls have specific heroes' powers.
Oh, really? I thought it had like more than one. Like,
they might. I mean, I kind of read it real fast. I mean, because it's honestly, it's not that important to the comic because those panels are just bang. But it's like taking your toys.
It shows up in like the last issue of the comic. That's what I'm kind of hoping for. Is it's like it's the final reveal, right, of the comic is, oh hey, you just thought we were just a bunch of shapeshifters here to infiltrate and take over your planet. Oh no, we came with the big guns. And so they bring out all of their Super Skrulls, and they got like a giant one, right? Like Giant Man. They've got all these different ones. And so the Avengers and the X-Men and everybody,
because Hank Pym was a Skrull, so they have him be Giant Skrull, dude.
Well, he's still Giant Man, right? Like he's a Giant Man Skrull, And so they just have all these characters that are either fake versions of the real superheroes, or just weird amalgam ones, and it just ends up being a giant splash battle, multiple pages of fighting and stuff like that, and it's fun. It's just good fun, and so like I'm not expecting something meaningful like we find out Bro Thor was a Skrull the whole time. No, I'm not asking for that. I'm just saying, like, could we have, like, I want the equivalent of Loki turning into Captain America for 5 seconds. You know what I mean?
Okay, I think it was something like that.
Yeah.
But I would hope for more. Like, if I'm Fury, right, and I got to deal with this, and I don't want to bring the Avengers, I would think of, like, oh shit, well, who can I bring that doesn't have powers?
Well, see, that's the other question. Like, I know that our friend Brian asked us recently, because he said, "Do you think they're gonna bring in the Secret Warriors?" And so, like, that's what happens in the comics. In the comics, like, Nick Fury actually disappeared years ago. Like,
Yep.
like he was gone for like years in the comics, and people didn't know where he was. And every now and then, the comics would check in on him. And
this was during Civil War. Yeah.
Yeah, I think before Civil War.
It was before Civil War,
Yeah,
and
he
then
dipped out.
Yeah.
That's why Civil War happened, because he wasn't there to squash
Maria
that
Hill
beast.
was in
And
charge,
Maria Hill
yeah.
was in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D. at the time.
Yeah.
But so anyways, Nick Fury, you find out in Secret Invasion that the reason he dipped out many, many years ago is because he learned about the Skrull infiltration way before anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And when he learned about that, he didn't know who to trust anymore. So he went about recruiting his own brand new team of superpowered people that he knew he had vetted and he could trust 100%. And he kept them at his side all the time. And those were his secret warriors that he brought to the battle, when it finally came to a head. And the main character that came out of that was Quake. And so I have heard rumors that, like, Chloe Bennett, who played Quake in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show, may not be done in the MCU. I don't really care.
If they bring her back as a mutant, would you guys be upset with that?
Yes, I'd be upset if they brought her back as a mutant because she wasn't a mutant.
Because that's where my mind goes. If that's how it plays out, he needs to bring in these secret off the grid people. Well, fuck you, Skrulls. We got
be inhuman.
Yeah, we got mutants, right? Like
Yeah, it would be weird to change her story because her being an Inhuman was like, we're talking about several seasons.
I think Inhuman could make sense too, but you know what I mean, like a different breed of human type of superpowered human.
I mean, it doesn't really matter what it is. The Skrulls have been on Earth for 30 years. They've seen it all, I'm pretty sure. But like, if he's vetted the characters, I don't think she's going to show up in this show. I don't really, but I'm just saying, like, that's how he resolves the situation in the comics, right? Is he has his own secret other team besides his secret team of Avengers, you know what I mean? Like, and so, but it makes sense though, like, if you think about it, because like the Avengers, when he first created them, it was a very hush-hush thing, right? And it wasn't until a giant alien invasion occurred, he's like, all right, it's time to roll this thing out. And then once that happened, the Avengers were forever in the public eye.
They're outed,
right? Yeah, they're outed. But so, it wouldn't hurt to have a covert team. Like, even his covert people became Avengers, right? Like Hawkeye and Black Widow, that was their entire function, was discretion. And now they're in front of the media, and so it wouldn't hurt to learn that Nick Fury had something else going on. That said, it gets weird when you keep adding story that's contrived. Like I thought it was weird that
this episode backdating stories, basically.
Yeah, I thought it was weird that this episode had to start with a Marvel Legends version of Marvel Legends.
Captain Marvel flashback.
It was the even shorter flashback than you would get if you just went and watched Marvel Legends on Disney Plus. It was just a flashback. Like, Lindsay was confused when my wife was watching it. She's like, "What are we watching?" And I'm like, "We're watching a clip show from Captain Marvel, is what we're watching." And so, but I get it. It's for anybody who I guess didn't watch that show. I don't know, like that movie. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like I give them the one. right? Like Captain Marvel was the one. I think that's the other reason people kind of don't like that movie and they don't really talk about it. Is it's always weird when you post date a story, you know, like you're like, oh, this actually happened way before all the other things, you know, like I'll give you one.
Danger of prequels. Yeah.
I'll give you one, you know, and so I forgive Captain Marvel for the story that it told, because it was interesting to me and I wanted to see them eventually build on this Skrull thing. And I'm kind of happy that they had 30 years to infiltrate the planet. That's a lot of time. That's a long time. So that's cool. But I don't want to do another one where it's like, oh yeah, but by the way, after the blip, I went immediately to work forming another super team that like that's
I think they'll work the blip in though as like the period where a lot of the Skrulls took power. Right? You think someone just disappears, just reappears?
Well, I mean, half of them died too.
Yeah, but you know, the ones that didn't.
Yes,
so
I guess
500,000 Skrulls if you play by numbers, right?
Yeah. Are you getting tired of blip stories too? I don't know. Like
I think they're finding good ways to like, because that is like a.
Well, I mean, they have to if they're going to reference it, that's fine, but don't build the whole story around it.
Because I just feel like, doesn't that cheapen the bad guys of Captain or Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Like their whole thing was, hey, this world went to crap after the blip. Now we're terrorists. You know what I mean? And so like,
I don't think it was crap. It was like it was peaceful during the blip.
Well, it went after. Sorry, do we call the blip the first one or the second one?
I think the period, like the 5-year gap, is what you would call the blip.
Is it?
I don't know. Yeah.
But regardless, it's like you know, like post World War II, the world was kind of fucked for the least like 10 years in terms of the geopolitical space, right?
Except for America.
Well, but you know, it's like seeing how the world comes out of that type of event, right? You know, and for the most part, like the Flag Smasher stuff, you know, they made it make sense for me to buy in. It makes sense for me to buy in. You know, I don't think they're making like huge leaps and strides with the types of stories that are coming out of the blip. But that being said, once we get past the next Avengers film, I think we're good, like for blip stories.
You know? But I think, in regards to this episode, the main point is, as Dennis said, after episode 1, I'm interested. After episode 2, I want to know what's going on. So I'm looking forward to next Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly. And this show's going to end up finishing the Wednesday after Comic-Con. So this is
are we doing a watch party at Comic-Con?
We'll see about that. We might have to pre-record for that. We might watch it on Wednesday, record something that night or that day. I don't know. We'll see. But I am excited for that day because that will be the penultimate episode. And we know that is always the best episode of these shows, man. I'm just saying. That's when all the cool stuff happens. Then it always falls apart in the last episode. And you're like, damn it. Never stick the landing.
Well, I had fun talking with you gentlemen about this. I think I'm excited that this is the first show in a minute that I think we're both equally on the same page on in terms of excitement.
Yeah, you weren't a fan of She-Hulk.
I didn't hate She-Hulk, but I think I like She-Hulk at the end. I didn't hate it, but we're definitely on different wavelengths. But for this show, man, I think we're both seeing eye to eye on where they're going.
I like it for being the Andor of the MCU right now.
We need more Andors.
She-Hulk is my favorite Disney Plus show.
Okay, I was just gonna ask Clarke, which is your favorite one, but there you go.
I loved She-Hulk, and not just for Daredevil, although that is the icing on the cake, but I loved that kind of humor. I loved the breaking of the fourth wall. I got the whole thing. I loved that whole series. I've rewatched it, I think twice now.
I think my second favorite is Moon Knight, mostly because I hate Moon Knight as a character in the comics. I think he's stupid, and I think they just did a great job of making
Moon Knight's good.
Cool.
Moon Knight's great.
And Oscar Isaac, he's Miguel O'Hara. and he's Moon Knight. He can be both.
Yep.
But there's
not a single Disney Plus show that I have not enjoyed. I'm one of those, and I don't care. I'm happy.
You like the Mighty Ducks reboot?
Okay.
He meant the Marvel ones.
You caught me. I was a little.
Anyone watch the
Willow wasn't that good.
Stan Lee documentary that came out.
I honestly watched half of it.
I've heard people don't like it.
It's okay. It's like
the Kirby family didn't like it.
No, the Kirby family does not like it for sure. It's kind of like a clip show, if that makes sense, where it's like
it's like
he's taking a lot of his old interviews and but what they do is they got like this company that specializes in I guess making 3D prints, and so it's kind of like a weird hybrid of toy photography. So when they recreate the scenes that he's explaining with little toys in dioramas and stuff like that, like standing around, and they 3D print different heads onto the toys or different toys entirely. And I was like, I kind of like this, but at the same time, what does this have to do with Stan Lee? You know what I mean? Like, it's just an aesthetic choice they chose. They chose to just look special, but it doesn't really speak to anything about Stan Lee and his legacy, right? Like,
I wouldn't mind do you ever watch the Steve Jobs movie? The which one? The Michael Fassbender one. I wouldn't mind something like that with Stan Lee. It's a little bit more critical of Steve Jobs, but I know that man has lived, or Stan Lee has lived an interesting life, for better or for worse. But I feel like he gets a little Disney-fied. But
I mean, of course they're gonna Disney-fy him. Like he's here's the thing you can't take away from it though. Like whether or not you like how much credit he it's not that he takes credit for everything. It's that he doesn't take time out to give credit. Where some people feel it's more due, but it's not that he's specifically saying I did this by myself all the time.
He just kind of takes it in.
He just is saying this is his ownership.
He was the one writer in the early 60s. I mean, think about that. He was writing for all of the Marvel, almost
all the books. All the books. He was writing all of them. And so, the artists, and he does frequently in the documentary talk about the artists and how much they add to it and stuff. But to some families, that will just never be enough. It won't be. And they're entitled to feel that way for sure, because there's no denying that Stan Lee has definitely benefited more from the success of Marvel than any artist ever did. Period.
But also, he just outlived them.
He did. Well, him and Ditko died the same year, actually.
Yeah.
Him and Ditko both died before Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, but Ditko dropped out of the scene.
Yes, but I'm just saying,
stayed in it. Okay, that's right. But I was in terms of Jack Kirby. He very much outlasted Jack Kirby. But
I mean that's kind of how history works, right?
They're going to keep talking about him because he stayed in the spotlight into his 90s.
But he was always in the spotlight, even in.
That's my 60s, point. He stayed in the spotlight.
He found ways to. I don't say interject, but he definitely.
Hey, his was the voice that we heard on Saturday morning.
Always be promoting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's. I think where it gets weird is okay, yes. Did he create Silver Surfer by himself? No. Is he even responsible for a large part of the creation of the Silver Surfer? Probably not. But is he the one that makes Silver Surfer a household name by going on radio shows and TV shows and talking about Silver Surfer and making people interested in these things and making people want to go read Spider-Man and watch Hulk and stuff? That's the guy. He's the spokesman for the thing. And so you can be mad that he doesn't give credit where credit's due to specific character creators and stuff like that. But you can't be mad at the fact that he is the figurehead of Marvel, because He positioned himself to be that, and the reason Marvel is as successful as it is because he did that. And so but that said, I didn't see anything new that I haven't seen before in that documentary, and that's kind of why I only watched like half of it, and I was like, yeah, it's okay. It's all right. I'm not going to recommend it. It's not like if you're on this show, you know plenty about Stan Lee already. Like you just
yeah,
you know what I mean? If you want to be angry at Stan Lee, go read the book that was written about him last year, so that you can be more upset about it.
What we can recommend before we wrap this up is for you to follow our Patreon, patreon.com/DenXmedia, where we get some exclusive content and access to us in some form or way. But once again, thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Clarke. Anything to plug, Clarke, while we got you here?
Nope, just looking forward to Comic-Con.
You don't want to do any surprise Rose Bowl announcements early?
I don't.
Rose Bowl announcements? Oh. We'll wait till we'll have you on.
You mean Rose Parade?
A Rose Parade, sorry. Yes. Too soon?
Too late, too soon.
In the not too soon future, we will all be together again in San Diego.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's something that I always look forward to.
But we don't really hang out with each other.
No, we literally get a dinner, and then we don't see each other for 4 days.
It's cool. It's fine.
It's how God intended.
We'll figure out. And honestly, like for anybody who catches this show before Comic-Con, feel free to write in the comments and let us know like what kind of stuff you'd like to see from us during Comic-Con, because maybe we can make it happen for you. Maybe if you want us to post videos of us checking stuff out, going to panels.
Who wants to leak Hall H footage? By all means, hit that Patreon button and we'll find a way to make it happen.
Well, now we're flagged. Flagged. Thanks.
I'm getting out of here.
Thank you all, true believers. I can't say it. You got to say it, Dennis. It's not my catchphrase.
Well, it's not mine either. It's not mine. It's the man. It's Stan the Man's.
I know, but I just can't quote him like you do.
Okay. We'll see you next time, true believers. Enough said.